Mr. Sombi, what's your assessment?
Well, I think it's also, I will share the same sentiments with my colleagues. It's a case of mixed fortune. Again, we have to take into account some factors. While I would readily admit that all may not be too rosy, we need to understand certain facts that in the first instance, we got to a stage in the last 16 years that Nigerians clamored for change. It was almost unanimous, on the part of those who are excluded, from their home country, which is the vast majority of our people. People wanted things to be done differently. We also got to a point where corruption not only became an art, but became a source of inheritance. All the revelations which we've heard about and people charge for, goes to show that people not only steal for themselves, but they also steal for their children. So we've gotten to a state where the economy, was less productive in terms of yielding jobs because most of the major manufacturing companies, had either left Nigeria, referring to Michelin, Dunlop, and so many others. We have lost so many jobs in the industrial sector. And that, to me, probably explains why Nigerians clamor for change. Now, Buhari came into power at a point in time when oil revenue was also dwindling. And then we have the Boko Haram insurgency at its peak. No one was sure on how to resolve it. We didn't have the international cooperation from the Americans, who refused to sell weapons, and attempts to get weapons, through some other means in South Africa ended up in a thorough mess. So, and we had Boko Haram are taking territories in here and there. But in the last 1 year, we have seen a change in that, in terms of that being, Boko Haram being degraded in a way that they had to devise other methods of carrying out their operations. But at the same time, it's a case of misfortune. We have Niger Delta Avengers now on the...
And the Fulani headsmen.
Yeah, precisely, the Fulani headsmen, creating new internal security challenges. So it's a case of you have solved one, then you have new problems. On the economic front, while there's a need to diversify the economy, which I do not doubt the Buhari's government commitment to diversify the economy, particularly when you look at one of the things they intend to do in the areas of agriculture. While they're talking about giving a child a meal a day, that will create a lot of jobs, thousands of jobs, for farmers, either poultry farmers, cattle farmers, or crop farmers. But at the same time, the removal of fertilizer, subsidy on fertilizer also means that yield might be less. Because so many farmers won't be able to afford it. Same thing goes for what the government intends to do in terms of what I would call modified Buharinomics. And what do I mean by that? If you go back as a student, when I was the NANS vice president in 1986, that was when we had the national debate, and then Nigerians voted and rejected, 4 things. One is the removal of fuel subsidy, 2, the regulation of the command heights of the economy, that is the downstream stream sector. The third one is the devaluation of Naira, and the fourth one is liberalization. I'm sure so many people will still remember those 4 key points. 1986.
And it's still happening.
So what we've done now is we've gone back to 1986 in a modified form. And those were, we call them IMF conditionalities. At the time, I'm sure Chief Okwadoko and Benite would remember this. And those are the same solution which we are profiling to a problem that has, festered and developed beyond the problem of 30 years ago. So how do we go about this? What consensus do we need to have as a nation on the way forward is one thing. But one thing which you cannot take away from the government is the issue of corruption. They have shown more seriousness than any other government in tackling corruption, trying to address some of the problems. Let me tell you the difference. One major difference is in the military economy. Nobody has ever focused on the military economy. And just only the Air Force alone is revealing humongous amount of money, allegedly stolen by people. So when you begin to look at the fact that we're talking about $2.1 billion arms money, disappearing, then, oh God, what must have happened in the past?
Okay, let me come to you on this, because I want us to look at it. We have three areas where the president and his team campaign, which is corruption, surrounding insecurity, and let's look at the corruption issue. Yes, we hear, on the pages of newspapers and television, you talk about a particular person or an institution stealing so much or allegedly stealing some money. How do you see this corruption fight going? Some people have described it in different ways.
This is a crisis. For me, I've been doing nation-building principles, discovering nation, investigating nation, see what nations have been through. How did they come out? What was the foundational issues? Are we unique in what we are going through? No. Nigeria is not unique in this fight for corruption and in the crisis we are going through right now. It's not a unique thing. Many nations have gone through what we are going through, but they sat down to tackle it. The crisis is that when you back against the wrong tree, when you cut the leaves and cut fruit, you will never get the results. And that's why investigating strategic thinking is required. When we talk about corruption, corruption did not begin from 1999. Corruption is endemic in its very foundation of a nation. And therefore, understanding why has this thing lingered over the time, and if I'm going to fight corruption, what are the indices and the various things that I need to tackle? One of the things that I expected APC to do on the ground running is not the issue of even our fiscal policy, which is complex and need to be dealt with, or the issues of petroleum. Corruption is a fruit. It is a symptom of an underground system that has been for too many years. One, the issues of patriotism, the issues of sectionalism, the issues of quota system that is imbalanced. Even mediocrity is involved in this foundation. When a father like this has served this nation for several years, and these are men on the front line of civil society, do I know him? No. I met him today. Why is he not on the news? Why is he not awarded national awards? Or a gentleman who has told me, Nance, since 1986, he has been fighting for the cause of the nation. These are men with quality who should be given opportunity to express their God-given capacity of patriotism. Nigeria is lacking patriots. We have Esau's, men who sell their nation for their stomach infrastructure. And until we deal with the society environment, they say society prosper by an environment. When an environment, you're talking corruption in politics. How about the corruption in education? Where people now are writing exam on the behalf of someone and it's coming out with a result that he's swanging. Is it a corruption in medical when you need to pay to get a doctor to attend to you? So if you are cutting corruption and say, I'm catching A, I'm catching B, I'm catching C, all well and good. But you have one biggest corruption, which is the foundation of any nation, is the judiciary.
So if you have an opportunity to do this, how would you have done it?
I will start with revamping the judiciary, the police, those two forces. Like you said, why should a case be in court for too long? When you don't have quick justice, darkness goes on like this. If a man knows that he's still and he's sued and there's evidence, and in the next 2-3 weeks, by the 1 month, he's in jail. For example, the jails are not enough. We need prisons. Where are you going to throw all these people? When we are through with catching, because this catching is on APC, catching on PDP, catching, where are they? Plenty. Where are you going to put them, sweetheart? The judiciary will keep a case for 1 year. Tell her, I'm adjourning. No. The first ground running is review the judiciary. Move most of the judges out and retire them, whatever benefits. Bring in fresh blood who understand IT, know how to put things and make it move. Within a month, a case is done. The fellow is in jail sweating it out. For now, maybe the one without doors. Then we start building more from state to state. We should have maximum prisons everywhere to teach these people a lesson overnight. Guess what? Nigerians don't like suffering. Make 5 examples. People will straighten up. Is this civil service that's not corrupt? We need a cleanup. And for me, President Buhari needs an urgency. There are 3 places he must move quickly. Judiciary must be dealt with, police reform, and increase the police. Give us young, bright boys and girls Who, when they wear their uniform, a young girl who is passing by say, when I grow up, I want to be what? A police. With ankle chain and everything ready to arrest whoever needs to be arrested. But all these dragging feet, and somebody stole money, we are hearing 2.5 billion, all of us are shouting because we're all broke. It's not a big deal. Nations have been corrupt. Vietnam, South Korea today was corrupt 50 years ago. Came out of corruption, they are in the trillion billion club. Top 20 economy. What are we doing ourselves? Samsung is number 2, South Korean business. So the reality is that I am concerned that a nation like ours with such intelligence, capacity, human ability, we need men and women that can think fast. And a president that we must encourage to make fast decisions. Right. Because the longer we stay, the worse for us.